Hello and welcome to the CFB Supershow, the Week 0 edition, pre-lock first of the season. My name is Walter Waddell, aka Dub Deuces 85, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Pete Cole. Man, been a long time coming. It's like 7 months without college football. The grind never stopped for us, though. We didn't sleep in May like John Rothstein does. We grinded esports, Aussie football, MLB, NBA, Summer League, everything you could possibly imagine. But now it's all about college football for us. And we're going to break down Saturday mornings, any last minute news, injury stuff, depth chart updates, anything, lineup wise. Give you guys kind of, we have time to internalize, digest the information that we talked about on Thursday, if our opinions changed at all, and just kind of put everything into a nice little package, put a bow on it, and be ready to make that money here for lock. We are going to try to keep the show to about an hour so that you guys have plenty of time to, jump in there, finalize your multi-entry if you're doing that, or your main. A lot going on. So we are going to talk about a little different format today. We'll talk about the QBs. Each of us, Pete and I, will have our top QB, top running back, top wide receiver. We'll talk about the position a little bit, anyone else that we're possibly looking at. And then if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to talk about in the chat to the right side there, feel free to type in there as the show goes on, and we'll make sure to answer those. That'd be the time to say, hey, what do you think about player A, player B, or player Z, within the context of the slate. So Pete, college football is here. We're still grinding away MLB, WNBA, CFL. That won't stop. But today it's all about CFB. How you feeling?
Yeah, in some ways it feels like it just ended. In other ways, feel like it's been forever. So like with the national championship game, but I like it. I'm excited. Even though it's 3 games, kind of sucky, but just to have college football back. It's been cool all week. Everybody talking again, all the, the discords and all the chat rooms and so on. So yeah, I'm excited. Be a good day. Plus we have a 2-gamer tonight. So a lot going on. Like it.
Yeah. So if you guys are not members of the YFC yet, you definitely want to join the Discord, which we'll tweet out that link later. We also have a promotion going on. If you sign up with us, you get two months at the $25 price instead of the $50. So it's a half off. That gets you access to every sport. I know some sites you got to pay for different packages and it gets you access to one, or this gives you everything. So you'll have access to Pete's MLB, soccer, esports, pretty much everything we offer, cheat sheets, top plays, prize picks, articles, Discord, members only Discord shows, everything that you possibly need to be a winning player. Speaking of members only Discord shows, for that 2-game slate later tonight that you did mention, this afternoon sometime, we haven't decided the time yet, but we're going to have a Discord live show breaking down the 2-game slate, giving our thoughts, and that will be in the premium Discord. So you do have to be a sub to get access to that. So just kind of shows you the type of benefits you get from signing up with us, and we'll walk through and kind of break down that 2-gamer. So typically on Saturdays, the biggest edge tends to be the later slates because people are burning out throughout the day. There's still other sports going on. People are stepping out and doing activities, going to dinner. They don't check news, or they're just not knowledgeable enough about the Pac-12, Mountain West, some of these teams that play later. So I guarantee you guys, if you stick with us, you'll have a big edge with those late slates. So looking forward to that. All right, let's go into it now. Quarterbacks, we're going to start there. And Pete's going to give us his favorite quarterback play of the slate.
All right, I'm running with Adrian Martinez, Nebraska. Is he going to be popular? Cash, probably. I'm looking at projections right now. I'm seeing him all over the place, but he's top. I'm seeing him upwards like 60%, but I think Adrian Martinez is a great cash play. He's not a good GBP play, but I don't know. So let's just get into it. Adrian Martinez, he's a junior. It feels like he's been here forever. And just doing like a lot of reading on him earlier stuff. I mean, the OC for Nebraska, Matt Lubick really likes him. They're saying he's that piece this year. They've never seen him more comfortable at Nebraska, and that's obviously because there's probably nobody looking over his shoulder right now. There's no McCaffrey brother, looking over his shoulder ready to take his job. And we do know the kid's got talent. I mean, he's a leader. I may ask Nebraska fans that. I mean, they're still waiting. Are they going to see improvement today from the past? But he's shown glimpses. He's shown glimpses of being a really good quarterback. And best year was a freshman. That's obviously undeniable, but also undeniable is his speed. I mean, we know how fast the kid is. When he turns a quarter on a quarterback run and he gets running, you see how quick this kid is. There's no doubt about it. And that's pretty much the strength of Adrian Martinez's game. I mean, you look at his career statistics. I didn't even realize this. He's actually he's only one of 4 active FBS quarterbacks who enter the season at 5,000 career yards passing and 1,500 yards on the ground. School's all-time leader in offensive yards, 400-yard total offensive games, 300-yard total offensive games. So there's a lot going on. And even last year, another thing I didn't realize, he had a school record 71.5% completion rate. So he was only behind Mac Jones and Zach Wilson at BYU last year. Yeah, does his downfield pass need work? Of course it does. We all know that. I mean, but everything that Lubick is saying, his accuracy has improved. He worked hard all spring. He's invested. So, I mean, we'll see today. And the main thing is his projections I'm looking at. I mean, he's right below Cordero, and he's $700 cheaper. We're looking at the rushing ability because they're going against Illinois, who allowed over 230 yards per contest last year. And we know he's probably getting double-digit carries. He had double-digit carries last year in 6 of his 7 games. So he's got a high floor, definitely, but I'm not too sure about the ceiling because we have 55 over under. So to me, he's more of a cash play. GPPs, I do like the price though, so he may be in some GPPs and Superflex, but definitely in my cash lineups. And we know he can do it. We saw that game was against Rutgers last year, where he came in and he had that huge game. He 24 for 28 for 255 yards, 1 touchdown, 157 yards on the ground, 23 carries, 2 touchdowns. And that was when they were down 21-14 at halftime that game. So we know Martinez can do it. Illinois does not have a great rush defense. So today, Adrian Martinez is my top, I want to say, cash play for quarterback. I just think there's other players at higher ceiling, but Martinez is my top quarterback today.
All right. And with it being such a small slate, there's really only a handful of quarterbacks you can really use. Next week we'll have a big slate. We'll have, a handful of options on each. For me, it's going to be Dorian Thompson Robinson. I'm the big DTR guy. I loved using him last year, the year before. Shortened COVID season, he still threw for over 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions in the 5 games. He did miss a game or 2 there with the injury, but he has that dual threat upside. And to me, it feels like the prices for him and Haener should be flopped. I like Haener and all that, but 9.7 feels very heavy for him. Whereas I wouldn't bat an eye today if I had to pay 9.7 for DTR. So DTR at 8.5 feels like the lock for me. Amart is obviously projecting to be the highest owned, it appears, but DTR is the rung below there, and you can fit him really easily if you want to go to higher price quarterbacks. But he rushed for 361 yards, 3 touchdowns last year as well. For me, I think this is going to be one of the best in terms of fantasy point game on the slate. I know UCLA is favored by 17-18. I don't know that I believe that. There is 19 players coming back for the Bruins, but I just feel like it's going to stay close, at least until, maybe that late third, early fourth quarter if it does blow out. So with that being said, I think that DTR is going to have to play, the full amount. That Hawaii defense we know hasn't been that great in the past. So they're really just, for me, there's all the ingredients for a big DTR game. The only thing that could really derail him would be an injury, which he has, had happen in years prior. So if they can keep him upright and stay healthy, DTR is going to be that dude. So you have some combinations here you can run. At this point, we'll open it up and kind of talk about the other QBs too. You could run the Amart with DTR, or you could do a Haener DTR, or maybe a little sneakier is Cordero and DTR. So because I do like Chevin Cordero today for Hawaii at 7.5. You mentioned him being a little higher price than Amart, but he's a big time fantasy weapon, and people are having trouble understanding that Hawaii's not that air raid offense anymore. They're going to dink and dunk, and they're going to run more. And Cordero's just fine with that. He showed the ability to be a dual threat last year, over 450 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground, in addition to his 14 passing touchdowns and over 2,000 yards. So the receiving weapons might not look as plentiful or as sexy as they did last year, but I assure you this offense is going to be clicking. Especially some of the weapons like Calvin Turner we're going to talk about. So I like, pairing Cordero with DTR is kind of like a super, on this slate contrarian. They're still going to be over 25% owned for Cordero most likely. But, do I think that Martinez should be 60, 70% owned when Cordero should be 20%? Do I think there's that big of a difference? I don't. It's a price decrease, obviously, but I just think that, me as a leverage guy, I could see going to him instead if you can make the salary work and give yourself a chance to not tie with 13, 14 people at the top of some of these single entry GPPs. So I like Cordero a lot. I think there's really just, you might disagree, really just 4 QBs to choose from. Maybe if you're doing the old 20 pack, you can do a Peters lineup. But I think it's really Cordero, Hainer, DTR, and Amar, don't you think, Pete? And I guess that leads me into, are you going to use Hainer at 9.7 in your main today?
No, I'm not using just to me 9.7 is a lot. I mean, of course, maybe GPPs, but Hainer's just too much. And two things, and I'm kind of glad you did bring up Brandon Peters, because I'm of course multi-entering. Like I said, if you're making 20 lineups, but Brandon Peters is kind of intrigues me a little bit, and I'm glad because you said it, because I'm going to bring it up when we start talking about later on Chase Brown, the running back for Illinois. But we know what kind of coach Brett Williams is, Tony Pearson, they're running coaches. So Brandon Peters is going to get obviously no ownership, not much love, but it does make you wonder though how much he's going to actually run this year. I mean, he's a terrible passer. He completed 49% of his passes last year, but I really think he may be able to surpass value with his legs, because we know Tony Peterson likes to use his quarterbacks on the ground. So, of course, a sleeper, you know what I mean, or more of a punt play, but Peters is somebody, that's the type of guy that you never know. I mean, his first game of the season, anything could happen, and someone that could actually take a GBP. And to piggyback on the Cordero, I also like Cordero too. So what I would be doing is running Martinez as a cash, and then I think I would jump right to a pivot to Cordero and GPP games. Totally agree with you. Because if I look, UCLA's defense last year ranked 108th for opposing quarterbacks in fantasy, allowing 27.4 fantasy points per game. And that price in Cordero 7.5 is pretty damn good. And between that and then Hainer's prices, I would definitely be running Cordero more. And he's definitely has that running ability, and he's a dual threat. And I don't know, I could definitely use. He'd be like my second GPP. I mean, I'm trying to see. He averaged 31 yards per game last year, 53 yards on the ground. So he'd probably be like my second GBP, but I like Cordero's price definitely. I play him more for Hainer.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. I thinking that Hainer was going to be super chalk with Martinez, and I'm kind of looking at the DTR and Cordero side of things to be a little different. But now maybe it's Amart and DTR that people are going to pair. So if Hainer's going to end up losing ownership now, and GPPs, I'm probably going to look to him. It's just tough because he's not known. I mean, he can run and has gotten rushing scores, but he's not known as that. So you hate to rely on a guy who's going to throw more or hand it off to Ronnie Rivers a lot at almost 10K prices. I mean, 10K prices are we're talking about, Trevor Lawrence and Fields from last year. So, all right, let's move on to running back here. Pete, why don't you give us your top numero uno lock and load running back of the slate?
I love so many running backs today, and like I said, I love Chase Brown for Nebraska. We all know about the guys you're going to bring up, but honestly, I can't get Kevin Menza off of my mind at 4.2 for UConn. And I've talked to a lot of people all week about it, and some people laugh, but maybe record. Definitely get it this year. He had, let me see, back-to-back 1,000 yard rushing games 2 years in a row. Is actually we talked about in the podcast here. His first.
We keep losing you, Pete. I'm not sure why.
They call him a bulldozer. They call him a little sports car. I mean, so there's nobody there playing behind him beside Robert Burns. Robert Burns from Miami. Burns is going to get a little bit, That's what I was trying to say. They call Men's a little sports car. They call Burns the bulldozer, but Burns is going to get a few touches, but Men's is the man. Men's is going to get a lot of play today, especially that price with 4-2 with both his kind of guys. When we'll talk about the receiver in a second, you can get a lot of these DFS players that you want if you run Men's in your lineup. Am I saying Men's should be in your main lineup for cash? Not so sure. He may actually be in mine. He's not going to be the popular play, but man, 4-2, he's going to get the ball. Randy Edsel loves him. He's a leader of the team. He's going for another 1,000-yard season. So I don't think you can beat Kevin Menz's price at 4-2. I think this surprised a lot of people today.
Yeah, I like that. You cut out there for part of that, but then it came in for the stats. So I don't know if you're having some AirPod issues there, but you dropped off a bit, and I don't know if you could even hear me. But we're good now, so hopefully you don't drop again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right.
You're good at the moment. All right. So for me, running back, and it's a chalky play, but when the play makes sense, it checks all these boxes of being a great play, then I'm going to play him regardless of ownership. And that player for me this week is Ronnie Rivers of Fresno State. Earlier his prize picks totals 0.5. They raised that, of course. That was one we should have unloaded the bank account on. But he's chasing history. I think he's about to have the record there. They're going to feed him the rock. Against UConn, they're projected. Vegas thinks they're going to blow him out. They very well might. People are worried about maybe Rivers getting pulled. I don't have that concern. I think Rivers will get fed very, very hard for 3/4 minimum. I've seen Rivers before score, 2 touchdowns and 120 yards in a half before. So really not going to get into playing the game of should I or shouldn't I. I'm just going to play the best people and let the chips fall, how they may. So Ronnie Rivers is definitely the top running back. I think most people would agree with that. 7-8, you're going to have to make a decision if you're going to get him. If you go up to Hainer, that's going to be very restrictive for the rest of your lineup. So for me, I think it's Rivers. And if he's on a 3-game slate, if he comes in under 50%, that's a huge edge over the rest of the field because I foresee a big game from him, as and most people do. And as you mentioned, there's a ton of running backs to like on this slate, so you can get different in various ways. You might even be able to run in your GPP as a 4 running back, super flex lineup. I see upside in that. But Rivers, just let you guys know, he's that dude. 6-game season last year, kind of COVID shortened. He still rushed for over 500 yards, 7 touchdowns. In the passing game, he caught 27 balls for 265, 2 more scores. So he will be involved in both. Targeted 30 times. He caught 27. He gets a lot of those little short routes. But he's a big time player. And every time he's on these late slates and showdowns and everything, you just got to lock him in because he's a true bell cow. Now his backup Mims will get some carries, and especially in that 4th quarter perhaps, but Rivers is going to get fed a lot. So I'm not worried about him whatsoever. And then bringing it into a couple other running backs, there's a lot to like. You mentioned that, and I won't steal them all, but I do want to go right to Calvin Turner, who is coming in lower owned than he really should be. And I think that's probably just because of pricing. People are trying to, fit. We're going to get to receiver like Cropper, who a lot of people think is a must play. I'm not in that camp. I think he's a little pricey with what's going on from the strategy wise of my build. I'm just not paying up at wide receiver in my main, I don't think. So for me, it's Turner. He's a running back / wide receiver. We know that he's going to get, targeted heavily there out of the slot in different spots. They may even give him wildcat carries, so split some carries with Day. But he's a big time player at 6'4". He should really be priced higher. I'm a huge fan of his. Man, he's going to do some really good things for us. These showdowns last year came in uncaptained at a low ownership on captain even, and we won a lot of money with him. So just get him in there. He had a total of 10 touchdowns last year. 4 rushing, 6 receiving. So you can see, over 800 yards of total offense. The guy's just a big time player. I know, like I said, UCLA is returning 19 starters, but I still don't see their defense being some sort of lockdown unit, and especially against a team like Hawaii. But as I said earlier, everyone has to get out of their mind that Hawaii is not an air raid offense anymore. And a lot of people talk about them, and some of the other content providers talk about them like they're going to be airing it out and all these receivers are going to eat. That's just not going to be the case with the type of offense they're going to run. But Turner will get a lot of work. So Turner is the guy for GPPs. I like Day, Hunter at 4.4. He took 18 carries over the last 2 games last year. It looked very good. So he's going to be in the mix. He's starting at running back there. And there's a lot to like. other running backs that you like, Pete, and then I want to get into, after you give us a couple more, the Illinois-Nebraska situation, because there's some stuff we need to look out for us. But who are some other running backs that you might be looking at?
I'm not sure if you just saw this, but I just saw on Huskers pregame radio was saying that Gabe Irvin is starting. That's not
okay.
I don't want to say it's confirmed, but I'm seeing that, and I'm starting to see that on some boards. So it's kind of important, actually. So I guess we can talk about. I mean, I do, and I liked Irvin. We talked about the other night. He's a true freshman. He was only a 3-star. Everybody's saying that he's been so awesome. I mean, he should have been 4-star, but I'm still not sure if I want to touch that situation because there was rumors that Sevier Morrison was starting to get some runs, so I'm seeing Gabe Irvin possibly be starting. But Chase Brown is my other top running back. Chase Brown's not a household name yet, but anybody knows Brett Bielema knows what kind of coach he is. Wisconsin and Arkansas, and also the OC Tony Pearson. They know these guys. They love to run, and all they do is run. So Chase Brown, 5'11", 235. Everything I'm seeing about him is great news. Of course, it's all coach speak, but great comments. And last year, it was last year, but they beat Nebraska 41-23. There was two 100-yard rushers in that game, and one of them was Chase Brown at 131 yards. Actually, the other one was Mike Epstein. Nebraska had 170 yards last year per game on the ground. So I'm real big, actually, on both of the Browns, on the Browns from UCLA and Chase from Illinois. But I like Chase Brown a lot today. I like his price. I like all these running backs, man. With Menza and the Browns and Turner. I wish Turner was a receiver. If Turner was a receiver, my lineup I would have my lineup set yesterday. I wouldn't be touching that. That's my problem today, is Turner being a running back.
Yeah, man. And it comes into play that 4 running back lineup. People never take it serious, and it has a lot of merit, especially on a smaller slate. Typically on a larger slate, it's not the wisest decision. But if you're looking at what the floors of the 4 main QBs here, not counting Peters, compared to the floor of the RBs, and then you look at the ceiling, the 4 running back lineup could really put you apart from the rest of the field and possibly outright being something. So, you mentioned Brenton Brown. He's going to be pretty chalky. He's a lot more chalkier than maybe I initially expected. He is only 5'6", so it's a great price for him. I thought people might be, potentially worried about, Zach Charbonnet coming in from Michigan. If he can return to his 2019 form, not last year. But Brown, as a backup last year, had over 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. So there's a lot of excitement about him, and I think his price will be, up over $7K when it's all said and done. When Felton sat out, I believe Dimitri Felton sat out the last game. You're right, took 29 carries for 219 yards. So he's more than ready for the RB1 role. And even if Charbonnet does, poach 5 to 10, 12 carries, like some people are saying, Brown will still get, that 20 plus workload. Now, of course, DTR is there potentially to steal touchdowns, and he's going to rush as well. But I think that, UCLA's offense will be dynamic enough to feed these guys, and maybe it'll be the wide receivers that take the hit and not the runners. But until we see a game or two with Charbonnet playing, I'm not really going to worry about him. I think Brenton Brown's fine for all formats.
I think you're right about that.
It's really good.
I think you're right about that. I wrote up Brown as a captain for the top showdown today because of that. I think the receivers actually may take that hit. Last year, even with Dimitri Felton, Brown actually averaged more yards per carry from the line of scrimmage. He has 6.6 compared to Felton's 5.1. And Charbonnet's going to get he's going to get maybe 5 to 7 carries, but Chip Kelly likes to ride his RB1s, and Brown's been practicing with the starters. We all saw that game you mentioned, the Stanford game at 219 yards. So I love Brown today too, man. I said there's too many running backs here, but Brown is going to be chalkier than we thought he was going to be. He's definitely going to be chalky. I'm especially at that price.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this year it'll be wise for us to talk about like strategy and builds a lot more and incorporate that into our show, maybe more appropriate for the Thursday show than Saturday. But a small slate, so we're going to have overlap anyways. We don't have to kill ourselves to find leverage, but on the bigger slates, we'll be able to find that. And we're going to do a better job. I mean, we did a good job with it last year, but of highlighting, that one or two plays that I'm really high on or you're really high on that, hey, just so you understand, the industry isn't really that high on this guy. We are. Here's the reasons why. And we'll live and die with that. And we always say it too. We'd rather die on our own plays and lose than to swap to what the group think tank says we should play. I did it last night in CFL and I was pissed about it with Sandbag, and then having them bust, because then you're like, well, shoot, I wasn't on them. Now I'm on them. Now I feel bad. If I'm going to lose, I want to lose on my own damn plays, right? So that's kind of where we're at with it. Now,
you're
Illinois,
bringing it up.
Nebraska. Oh, go ahead.
I also think when you bring it up, I think a lot of these builds, I really think, as we're talking about, I think you do need a Rivers Turner in your main lineup. I think your build's got to be around that. That's how I think it personally, and that's bothered me because I still like the Menzas, I still like the Browns, and I only have pretty much a spot for one more guy. So, but that's what I look at.
You may have to entertain the 4 running back lineup more than you probably want to. But if you're multi-entering, then maybe you have the lineups to roll a 4 RB. All right, so Illinois, Nebraska, we have depth charts on everyone. We're going to talk about the later slate on our Discord show. We have depth charts for that. But Illinois, Nebraska is being secretive. Illinois has no plans to release it. We're looking at message boards. You heard Pete say that it sounds like now Urban's back in the mix because he's checking some stuff out. So usually by now we've got this news and we're breaking it for you on our show for these type of things or injuries or suspensions, because we're really in tune with that stuff. But we don't have that guaranteed for Illinois. Illinois is going to run. We know that Epstein was a big player for them. We know Brown was a big player for them. They like all 5 of their guys, even Norwood, the RB5, I guess. The coaching staff is talking about him. So there's going to be a lot of guys getting carries in that backfield, which is kind of tough for DFS. But they're going to run so much that I do think on a weekly basis, they could probably support at minimum 2 running backs each week as far as a workload. Doesn't mean that they're both going to go off, but they'll get the workload. So, maybe cycling through the top 2 or 3 Illinois guys from what we think is a good play in GPP. I am a little leery. The price on Brown here at 5K is amazing. But I also don't. I think I would almost rather play Mensa just because I know he's going to get that guaranteed workload. Brown might lose some touchdowns to the other guys. Like, what if Brown, does all this dirty work and then Epstein comes in? There's a lot in play here. So he seems like a lock at 5K, but I am leery about it. For Nebraska, I think everybody's in agreement at this point that Marquis Step, the USC transfer, is going to be the RB3. Had some injuries. He's kind of fell behind in camp a little bit. But with that being said, watch him come out and start and blow the doors off. But like I said, everyone in the industry kind of agrees he's RB3. Last week, it was Gabe Urban, the true freshman, that was going to be the bell cow. Nebraska coaching staff says somebody out of their backfield is going to get 20 to 25 carries a game. They already know who it is, but they're playing coy with the rest of us. And then this week, everyone's saying Savion Morrison's going to be that guy.
A nice
now
price.
you found something at you said a message board of saying that's going to be Irvin. So we might not know. It's really important though, maybe more so for Showdown, obviously, because they're both pretty cheap on Showdown. You could play both, you could play one. So there's some edge there on the Showdown. On Main, there's enough running backs to where if you just want to value safety, and you and I both value safety, especially in our main lineup, because we usually take one lineup, jam it into all the cash games, head-to-head, single entry GPPs, and then play around with some alt lineups. I'm doing the 20 today because I want to start off with a bang. But for our main lineups, this is very important because if we go Morrison and Irvin's the one that gets 20, we're screwed, or vice versa. And we know there's 5-6 other running backs that are guaranteed workload. So I would say in your head-to-heads, your cash games, your single entry stuff, to maybe, unless right before lock we get, hey, Morrison's practicing with the first team, let's roll him. If you get that information and make sure you're in our premium college. We have 2 premium rooms, the premium regular, premium college. Make sure you guys are in premium college. Pete and I will be in there posting news. Our members post stuff when they see it. It's a very big community that helps each other out. So if you see that beforehand, then by all means, then you can get them in. But if we head to lock and we still haven't got confirmation for whatever reason, then yes, it's going to be risky because at worst, at best, I should say you're a 50-50 proposition there, and then Step's still looming. So just be careful with that. And then for Nebraska, UConn, just want to say one more thing about running backs. They are saying that Nathan Carter is going to be in the mix too. he's being compared to Donald Brown, who you talked about on the Thursday show. You know, Brown was such a big stud for them in the past, back in like late 2008, 2009. They're comparing him to Brown. So that's interesting to see what kind of carries he might draw first here. It's not the best game for them against Fresno State. They might fall behind early, but Nathan Carter at 3-2. Do you have any interest in him for your GPP lineups, or is that kind of a wait and see thing for you?
That's more of a wait and see, because if I was going to run anybody, it would be Robert Burns from Miami. But I heard the same things that you did too. But I actually have Burns in the lineup as a fullback. As I said, I know a lot about UConn. I read a lot about UConn. And said they call Burns the bulldozer. They call Ben's a little sports car there. And then Burns may actually get if they even get in the red zone a touchdown. But something actually to keep in the back of your mind, because Don Brown's a damn good running back in 2009-10.
And this coaching staff has a history of producing big time 1,000, 2,000 yard running backs. So
yeah, they do.
All right, let's move to wide receiver. We're making good time here. Pete, why don't you give us your I know you have a couple. I probably took yours when we were going through this, but who's a high end wide receiver for you in your lineups here today?
Well, actually my top receiver today is I'm going, man, I sound like a homer, and I don't even live in Northeast anymore, is Cameron Ross. I just think Cameron Ross, can you have two UConn players on your main lineup? Probably not. But man, the prices, they fit so well. But Cameron Ross, man, you can't. He came into the season. It was Ross and Matt Drayton. Matt Drayton blew out a knee ligament, and that was the Cameron Ross show. I mean, the kid's 5'9", led the team 723 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2019. But even then, nobody stood out on the stat sheet beside Ross. Nobody was even over 300 yards receiving beside the Drayton kid. Ross is good though too. I mean, he was in top 5 among freshman receptions, receiving yards per reception. I mean, he's quick. He's got quick feet. And then the main thing is, you want to talk about narratives. I mean, they're going to be playing from behind the whole game. You're going to be seeing a lot of passing. They're going to be throwing like crazy. Just, they're going to get blown out here, obviously. So Cameron Ross, I think, is actually a great play today. Let me see what they're now 28-point underdogs now. So he's the only guy they're going to go to. So he's going to get all these garbage time points. I really think at that price, was he 4.2? I think is he 4.2 or 4.5? Whatever. He's in a 4s. That's perfect. Yeah, that's, to me, that's a perfect main lineup receiver where you can get a guy that's number one, that's going to get garbage time points, that's going to be going to him at that price in the 4s. So Ross by far is my top receiver today, just pretty much like point per dollar wise and all that. But I love Cameron Ross today. I can't believe we're talking about 2 UConn guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in on Ross too. I think most of the industry will be, just because we expect him to see 10 plus targets. They get down, he's going to be getting a ton of work. So I'm with you there on Ross. Maybe not so much Mensah in my main, but I definitely like both. And I think those are the 2 names to know. So I don't think you're crazy for that at all. Cameron Ross, definitely the play. Kind of a luxury play here because, I would be there with you too as the number 1 guy. But Greg Dulcich, tight end from UCLA at 6K. I would have liked him to be a little cheaper, but it's clearly DTR's favorite target. When he went down with the injury and they brought in Chase Griffin, he was Chase Griffin's favorite target. So Dulcich is a luxury play where he's going to get kind of fall through the cracks. People aren't going to be looking to him in that price range. They're either going to go up to Cropper, or they're going to pay for Ross, or some of these Nebraska guys like Dorian or Manning who are getting talked about. So he's good for GPPs, definitely. Caught 26 passes, 517 yards, 19.9 yards per catch, which for a tight end is pretty damn impressive. 5 touchdowns. And he's definitely a guy that, like I said, no matter what happens, even if DTR get hurt or something, his fantasy value won't tank. And he's about 1K cheaper than the top wideout, Kyle Phillips, who Phillips obviously had the most targets last year, and he's a good play. But I don't know, there's one worth paying 1K more for than Dulcich. So he's in consideration for my main build. I don't know that it's going to work out necessarily, but he's clearly a great pairing partner, with DTR, definitely. Some other wide receivers to consider here, right? there's a few. So Nebraska situation, Fresno State. I'm going to let you get into that and break that down. I do want to mention
I do that.
Isaiah Williams. Someone in the chat talked about Isaiah Williams. We talked about him on Thursday. Former QB turned WR. Now, coming out of high school, he's highly recruited by a lot of top programs, but they all wanted him to become a wide receiver, and he didn't want to make that switch. So I was coached at Illinois, did some things, got to play QB, didn't work out, and now he's going to be a wide receiver. The price is a little higher than I'd like at 5K, but for GPPs, I don't know that you'll find a better spot that just screams leverage. Obviously it could be a lot of Illinois fans around social media, but a lot of people talking about him, calling him the sneak play. He's going to explode. Everybody's going to know his name. Going to be a top in the conference, top receiver. So there's a lot of people that love him right now. Without having the depth chart in front of us, we don't know, where he's going to actually be at the end of the day. Obviously, it sounds like he'll end up running a lot of the slot, I would say, but we'll just have to see how that all works out. I feel pretty good about him possibly scoring a touchdown, though. They're going to use him in a multitude of ways. He'll be that kind of weapon, almost like a Calvin Turner, which, not to say it's going to produce like him today, but he kind of fits that mold in terms of they'll probably give him some carries. He'll get some, work out slot. They might do some design plays for him. So I think he's probably the highest upside GPP play when you consider he won't be owned. And he does have, like I said, touchdown upside because I think they want to make it, open with a bang here. And what better way to do it than to find him? There's
especially
other
with Hightower hurting too, right?
Yeah, that's the rumor or what people are saying, that Hightower is banged up. So if he's limited or he ends up sitting, then yeah, Williams really kind of steps up there and should get more work. They do have some other options there as well, but it's like I said, they're not going to be a big passing team necessarily, but sounds like Navarro is going to be working more on the outside. They do have Jafar Armstrong, who comes over from Notre Dame. We talked in depth about him on Thursday, so he could be in the mix. So yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty here, but yeah, I think Isaiah Williams is somebody if you're running multiple lineups, you wouldn't be making a huge mistake not getting exposure there.
I wouldn't mind Jafar Armstrong. Actually, Jafar Armstrong in that same Illinois receiving course too, just because I think he's a decent runner and receiver, and he's been in Miss Alley. I like the Williams call better, but I just think Armstrong may be somebody else if you're multi-entering, cheap life minimum.
Yeah. So talk to us about, let's start with Fresno State receivers. Why don't you talk to it? Because there's a lot of ownership coming in on Jalen Cropper, but if you remember from last year, I mean, the team threw a lot, but they were pretty spread out, Wheat Falls, Zane Pope, Juan Rodriguez. Now, Josh Kelly is getting a lot of hype right now as the sneaky play. My guy Ty Jones transferring from my UW Huskies. He's going to be in the mix. So they're going to be spreading the offense around. I know that Cropper got a lot of targets, team leading targets last year, but it feels like the way people are talking, he's going to be the guy that gets fed. And I don't know that that's necessarily true. So how are you handling the Fresno State guys?
Yeah. So I guess first of all, Cropper. I mean, Cropper's good. I mean, he probably is raw talent, probably arguably the best receiver on the slate. I mean, he did lead Fresno State in every receiving category possible last year. He had a huge last few games. Let me see, he averaged during his last 3 games, 14 targets, 10 receptions, 148 receiving yards, and 4 TDs. So how can you not envision him as having a big game against his UConn secondary? UConn secondary is terrible. They're ranked 93rd versus opposing wide receivers, fantasy points, and it's not like UConn 2 years ago was playing against some big ass teams. So Cropper is going to be popular. The price 7.3. I can't seem to fit him in a lot of my lineups when I'm trying to run guys like Rivers and DTR and stuff. But he's the guy. He is. Now on the other side, you got Josh Kelly. Now he was definitely last year. He was definitely the WR2 last year. So, and he's really cheap. I mean, he's only 4.4 in DK, 7.1 on FanDuel. I think actually, and I've started finding myself putting Kelly in a couple of like my second and third lines because of his price. And all it takes is him and Haener connect on one play. One big play, touchdown, he gets value, and that's it. So he's a big time upside play. And let's pay up some other prices, some other guys. Another player maybe you talked about is Ty Jones, who's a transfer from your boys in Washington. Now, I'm also seeing that Jones was running in first team practices. So I'm staying away from Carrick Whitefall. I mean, Carrick Whitefall was wearing a yellow jersey in practices, just like last week. I'm not even sure if it has even cleared yet. So I'm out on Whitefall. I like the Kelly call. I mean, Cropper's great. I just don't. I'm not going to play him because of his price. I think Ty Jones may actually come out as a sneakiest play if you're not going to use like a Josh Kelly.
And it's important to note with the depth chart, Wheatfall has the or designation with Ty Jones. So good call out. All right. How about the Nebraska guys? You know, Omar Manning's been getting some love. Torrey's been getting some love. Torrey's actually projecting to be mega chalk at 4.9. Now, Manning, the industry and the fan base especially is very split on Manning because some people think he's going to come out and, you know, just set the world on fire. Some people say he's not even going to play that much. Callahan, one of their main beats, says that he's heard he won't even be that involved, yet another conglomerate of people say he's going to be featured. So Manning, I'm nervous about. I was going to play him in Maine at one point, but he's going to be a GPP guy for me. So I guess really the decision is to play Torrey and Maine or not. So what are you doing with those guys?
I think Torrey's a great price, especially with the PPR at that price at 4.9. So I think Torrey seems to be fitting a lot of my main lineups too, especially if you're going somewhere higher like at running back. You can get it out with Torrey at 4.9 and Ross at 4.2. So I do like Torrey. I think he's a strong play at that 4.9 price. I think he's definitely going to get looks. There's no doubt about that. I did see a note somewhere. I can't remember where it was, and I don't want to give. It might have been. I want to give it. I might have been like Mike Bainbridge might have said it. I want to give him credit for that because I saw somewhere. It might have been Mike that said that they were not making. Manning, I just want to blank his name. Omar Manning available for any media interviews during the summertime, and that's a red flag. So there's been questions, you know, if they're not doing that. So is he going to get limited reps? Is he going to play? So I would be totally off of Manning until we got, you know, at least we see one game. But when you're not, you know, that's red flag. You're not making guys available for media interviews and so on. So Torrey, I think Torrey's a good play though. I do. I think he's a good play in the PPR.
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree. All right. So let's move on. Any other plays before we move on to prize picks and head out that we didn't mention, or any, you know, GPP looks? You can see our top plays pop up on the screen there. Pete's side, the Martinez, Mensa, Ross group, DTR, Rivers, Turner for me. Who's other guys that we haven't talked about, or who do you want to reiterate as being a sneaky play, or anyone that you're fading that the industry's, you know, just goo gaga about? Because we made a real nice living last year off of fading guys that made no sense to us that the industry loved, or going heavy on a guy like Spiller last year when he was like 4% that was getting the work that we couldn't figure out why no one liked, but we stuck to our guns. Is there any plays like that today, and any other kind of final thoughts before we talk about price picks?
I think possibly a name we didn't mention at running back is Ronnie Rivers' backup, Jordan Mims. There's reports that Mims had a great camp, was really good shape. Even though I would still rather take the Kevin Menza, knowing he's the workhorse and he's a little bit cheaper. But I think Mims is going to get some play, especially in the blowout factor. We talk about it on the podcast. I don't think you have to worry too much about the blowout factor with this team, because we do know DeBoer is probably not the type of guy that's going to pull his starters, you know, early in the second half. But I like Mims for GPPs because they pull Rivers and they score 2 or 3 more touchdowns. You can see Mims getting a couple touchdowns right there. So I wouldn't. You could possibly play those two guys together in GPP. That'd be something interesting, like a Rivers and Mims. I wouldn't play him Hayner, but that's something interesting, I think. And then there's somebody else I had some interest in beside Mims that was kind of a weird or different play. I think I would stay away from that Nebraska Phil Urban situation, definitely. I just think that there's way too much nonsense going on there. I'm big on these Browns. I'm big on Chase Brown. Probably should be playing Chase Brown over Menza in the main lineup. I just don't know if I can fit him in there with some of the players. And I really do think in main lineups, in my opinion, I think you do need a Turner Rivers combo. And that's probably going to force you to probably play like an Amart, but then you got to go a couple cheap receivers. So I think Rivers and Turner should be in your main lineups. I didn't have Turner in my main lineup. I do think you need that combo. Turner's just all over field way too much for him not to be in your lineup.
Yeah, 100% agree. All right, prize picks. Let's talk prize picks. And I have a couple featured in the article from yesterday. We ran really hot with college football prize picks. We've noticed prize picks, give them credit, basketball, they're very accurate. But with football, especially the college football side, they were pretty soft. So we're hoping to pummel on our friends there at prize picks. The one that we were like in love with and couldn't hit fast enough was Ronnie Rivers 0.5 touchdowns. But as soon as the clock struck to, midnight, that switched to 1, which I still think is strong. I mean, Ronnie Rivers getting 2 touchdowns seems pretty likely, but I mean, obviously 0.5 was a lot. So it's 1 now. So not quite as strong as before. I do still like him. His fantasy total over 22.5. I guess the one that we're both really big on to start though would be Cameron Ross over 5 receptions. We think that, they're going to have to pepper him with targets, throw to catch up. Ross is going to be the one that benefits from that. So 5 receptions might seem kind of high, but as the primary or maybe even the only reliable weapon in that passing offense right now, Ross over 5 receptions looks solid. Who else you like in here?
I just pulled up right quick. I'm trying to see you. I see you do have Marquis Step under fantasy points. I would take the under. I would take the Marquis Step under 52.5 rushing yards. We're not even sure how much he's even going to play.
Yeah, so I had him originally. I had him at under 10.5. That has also dropped. Now it's currently 9.5. So hopefully you guys got that higher number. But yeah, I like the under on him for pretty much everything.
I mean, Kyle Phillips is I think even though I like the tight end UCLA though, I do think Kyle Phillips is a better DK play today for PPR, and I'd probably take the Phillips over 5 receptions today. I think he's going to get peppered. Well, we have Calvin Turner in here in receptions too, right? Yeah, 4 receptions. You have Calvin Turner. You got that one. I think that's an over.
So that's gone up too. So yeah, this let me stress for you guys real quick. When I release this article or we talk about our show, the article is going to come Thursday, so 2 days before the slate locks, and our show as well. So Calvin Turner, the over 3.5 receptions we talked about on Thursday, that is now looking like 4. So as people hit this, and it's not just us, obviously in the industry and stuff, but as people start hitting that, those overs and unders, they start changing that in real time. So to get the best possible number, you definitely want to put those in, 24 to 48 hours ahead of time. I know no one likes to tie up money if they can help it, but now you're getting a worse number at 4. I do still think he hits the over, but obviously 3.5 would have been much more.
If you watch our Thursday night show, watch the show, we bring the picks, and then do your price picks right after that. You're right, because especially with the Ronnie Rivers. I mean, the Rivers, right? I mean, that was an easy one.
I also have Adrian Martinez so I have a featured 5 in the article, which we do. I have Adrian Martinez over 0.5 interception.
He's gonna get picked. Yep.
I think he's still 0.5.
He's gonna
throw an interception. Yeah, he's gonna throw an interception today. I feel pretty confident in that he's gonna do that. Now we have a couple late games here too. There's some soft numbers I'm already seeing for that as well. So we will get into that and on our Discord show and article. But Jacob, just freebie right now for UTEP, Jacob Cowing. Jacob Cowing is going to be an absolute DFS just stud for PPR. He was last year. He will be this year. So anything you can get over on Jacob Cowing now before it changes. And then I had Rivers over 22.5 fantasy points, which I don't know if that's changed yet or not, but I was confident in that low score for him. Those are basically my featured ones. Any others that you like?
Yeah, is Rivers? I'm seeing see if Rivers changed. No, I'm still on the same ones. I'm still on the Turner. I'm still on the Cameron Ross. I'm on the A Mart interception, definitely. And no,
Oh
I think
shoot! So Rivers. So there's another case in point. As of Thursday night, Friday morning, he was 22 and a half.
I
Now
can't
he's
even find Rivers.
25 and a half.
Oh,
So
so there you go.
under the fantasy score. So I probably would stay away from that now. So if you didn't get the
Yeah.
22 and a half that we have in our article featured, stay away. So this is a really good example of why you have to hit prize picks early, because they are very good about changing things.
I would probably take the Chase Brown over 12. I'm really big on Chase Brown today. I would take the Chase Brown over 12 fantasy points. Do they have a Chase Brown single stat? I think 75, 77 and a half. I mean, he ran for 131 last year over the same team. I would probably take the Chase Brown and both overs. Maybe I'm just I'm not a new Chase Brown fanboy. I'll have a jersey next week over. But I would take Brown and Menza over their 77 and 75. UConn's got two players, and I know. I mean, it's you had me thinking about this too. This kid, the kid from UConn, though, too, and I can see. I don't want to get people thinking about the what's the kid's name for UConn? We're just talking about the new kid, Carter, right?
Nathan Carter.
Yeah. I mean, not to change the subject, but I think Carter may actually come into play today, and I'm thinking about it too because it ain't all men, it's not all Menza and Ross. So, and Carter's kind of this other thing is kind of quick back. It's going to catch some balls out of the backfield. So, that's change the subject, but my mind's all over the place here.
That's all good, man. All right, so that is pretty much it. Again, we are running this promo for a little bit longer, so get in on that. 25 or 50% off your first 2 months. You're paying $25 a month, and that gets you access to every single sport. That I see other sites are starting to do that now, and I know it existed before, but we've been pushing that since day one. We believe in a one-stop all for everything, and that includes cheat sheets. We have projections on our main sports. We had projections for CFB last year. We're going to start probably rolling that out again as well. So if you're a projection optimizer person, we have something for you. If you like reading, top play opinion pieces with numbers, we have something for you. If you like watching content, we have something for you. We got something for everybody. And you get to see our pretty faces on camera 3, 4, 5 times a week. So we appreciate all the continued support. If you're watching us live right now, please hit the like button there. We have 10. I see there's like 25 of you watching. So if you hit that for us, it helps us be seen within the algo, makes our content better. We're able to provide more and help you guys win even more money. So Pete, I think that is it. We have about an hour. The slate looks like it got pushed back a little bit.
120, I think, is now.
Hour and 10, hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Plenty of time for you guys to finish your multiple entry stuff. The biggest thing right now is Illinois and Nebraska depth charts and finding out who that Nebraska starting RB1 is going to be. So definitely hang out in the premium college room there for that information as we get it. Thanks, guys. I'm Walt. That's Pete. We're going to take off here, and we'll be back later this afternoon for a live Discord show to break down the 2-gamer.
All right. Good luck, guys. Peace.